Let's get started. Yeah, there's not a talk about AI. I think there's a lot of them. I will give two at Convex, but I wanted to. There's a bit of AI at the end, you'll see, which touched a bit on that. But the idea for today was to get back to discussing customer experience, and especially it's important, and we'll see that even with AI, we still have to think not about the technology, but what we provide to our customers in terms of content experience when it comes to searching, reading, navigating with our documentation. So for those of you who don't know us, so we are Free Topics. I'm the founder and CEO. We're a software vendor, and the product we do is, some of you may call that a CDP, Content Delivery Platform. We call that a product knowledge platform. The idea being to collect all the content that is necessary for your different stakeholders to know about your product, how to discover your product, configure, run, install, service those products. So we collect all that information that exists disseminated in your company. We build this unified knowledge repository, huge tech stack, and then we make that content available to you through multiple touch points, going from designing a dog portal to building chatbots or connecting that to your in-product help or your help desk tool. So that's the idea. It's really this level of aggregating and disseminating content. What's interesting as well is that's somehow pretty new. I want us to understand that one of the reasons a product like us, like Free Topics, exists is that most of the things that have been done up to now have been building delivery for humans. And what's very interesting now is that part of this, we have a new consumer. We have new readers, which are the AI agents. And that's also the raison d'etre and the job of Free Topics to collect that content, process it, transform it, not just in HTML to let you build portals, but as well make it available through, for example, MCP in Markdown format, optimized for AI agents. So you have multiple types of readers, new consumers of your content now in your company, and Free Topics makes that content unified, prepared, and optimized for every type of content consumer that you have. So what we do from a business perspective is helping our customers achieve better customer support or field service operations, depending the types of product that you sell. So different verticals, different industries, multiple types of customers, as you can see. Some more on the tech side, where the use case is more customer support related, while other are more in the manufacturing, and the use case is more field service related. But anyway, you still need knowledge. You still need to know how to install, fix, service the product. So to the point of this presentation today, start by introducing a bit how the situation has evolved over the past, 40, 50 years, that leads us to this moment where we have to discuss customer experience and how the complexity has slowly increased so that it creates new challenges for every company. Because back then, say 40 years ago or 30 years ago, life was pretty simple. You had one tool for writing your content, your knowledge, your technical documentation. Let's call that a CCMS, even if that 30 years ago, maybe it was more like Word-like or FrameMaker, but still you had one tool for writing your content. That ended up being printed, nice binders that you could ship with your product. Then you move to PDFs, remove printing, and at some point, you turn that into HTML, one doc portal. But that was pretty much the same thing, which is one authoring tool, one touch point for delivering that content. But with the development of IT, more and more tools blossomed in the company to support the operations from product creation to production to sales to support. And interestingly, each tool that exists in the company now contains some information that's needed for our customer support or field service operations. So not every content that is needed by the different users is in the CCMS, but can be created and can come from those different applications that you have all along the product creation, production, delivery journey. And how do you then make that knowledge available to your customers? For long, that has been quite burdening to tech writers because you had to find that content in those different tools and mostly copy paste that in the CCMS, in the documentation, and then publish that to the doc portal. So that's pretty cumbersome and tedious to do. And we've seen many companies at some point trying to solve that by trying to publish directly the content from those silos to the doc portal. That was the touch point. Well, the doc portal to the documentation or the website. And it's like every product, every application, every silo was pushing that content directly through homemade scripts, complex to run and to maintain. But the situation became even worse because over time, you added new touch points, new applications to the landscape for supporting your customers. It was not just the doc portal, but then you started adding a learning management systems or maybe forums for your community, and then a help desk tool on if you are in the manufacturing business. You have field service management, parts catalog with a product information management system. So you have more places that customers, users have to go to find information depending on the type of information. So that created more touch points. And those are necessary for consuming, for operating and learning about your products. But so then that created a new problem, which is how do you then take the content that exists in every application that you have inside your company to make some of that information available in those different applications that are the front applications that are available to your customers. So doc portal is there, but how do you feed your learning management system? How do you load information in your help desk tool or in your field service management, your parts catalog from your ERP, your CAD or your PLM, or what comes from your file servers? So that becomes everything is interconnected, and that becomes pretty messy and difficult to maintain. And moreover, some of those applications, like the LMS or the help desk tool, not only are touch points supporting business processes or consumers of content, but there are also new providers of content. Typically, you can consider that in your help desk tool, support agents will create knowledge-based articles that they need because it's faster to reply to recurring questions. And then that becomes new knowledge for your company. Or that the past cases that have been solved are in some way new knowledge to support your product. So every of those tools is not only a consumer, but as well a new generator of content. And you still have to interconnect horizontally those touch points so that to reference those existing contents. So this is a bit like how it evolved. And probably, well, surely this is why a product like Free Topics exists, which is trying to simplify. We are the sort of a missing piece in the tech stack to rationalize that, unify all the content that exists in those internal applications, or even if you're a learning management system, front applications, organize that content, and make that content available, again, to those front applications. So that's the idea of a product knowledge platform, content delivery platform like Free Topics, creating this central unified knowledge hub to make that content available everywhere. And part of Free Topics is not only unifying the content, but as well letting you build those tech doc portals as well. So with a product knowledge platform, with a content delivery platform, you solve the problem of unifying the content, making that content available to any touch point. And we can as well unify the traceability and for security, as well implement AI at the right place in one place. You can make that content available through APIs to other applications that need to pull it without having to create new scripts. So that's the idea of the CDP. So this is where we sit in this landscape of applications that exist on the front side customer-facing applications, okay, help desk, dog portal, forums, community. But even though CDP helps solve the problem of content delivery, content unification, there's one thing that isn't solved here is that with all those touch points, we now have a fragmented user experience. Because with more touch points, customers sometimes feel lost. Where should I go for finding the right piece of information that I need? Should I go to the dog portal? Should I go to the community forum? If I don't find what I'm looking for in the doc, where then can I find that? Should I go to the help desk tool and create a ticket? Should I check if the community can solve my problem? Or is it something that I will find tutorials and learning material about in the LMS? So that becomes a question for our users. We see that more touch points sometimes create a lesser customer experience because they feel that it's almost too much, as opposed to 30 years ago, where probably they had these binders, and whatever they could do is just go to the binders or reach out to customer support. So what we're going to look at today is that by adding more tools, we have also increased, we have also lowered in some way the user experience, sometimes with inconsistent UIs, inconsistent journeys, and that's a problem we have to solve. So how do you solve this problem of unifying and streamlining the user experience, making it more consistent? If you look at it from a technological perspective, well, and on the tool stack side, you have two options. Either you take one platform that does everything, that can be your CRM, your help desk, your dog portal, your LMS, your forums, so that because it's one tool only, one platform, supposedly it helps you build something that is consistent and easy to navigate for the customers. Or you go option B with a best-of-breed approach, which is selecting different pieces of software from potentially different vendors. And then you have to combine them, organize them together with some underlying foundation so that you create a unified and more consistent user experience, less fragmented. So we're going to look at those two approaches, which one works, and if you go one route, is it better, is it lesser, and what are the pitfalls or the benefits of each. So let's look at what I would call the do-it-all platform, which is like, imagine that you have the one solution that does everything. Typically, you can think of large software vendors like, I don't know, Salesforce or Microsoft that somehow try to pull you into their nets and say, we can do it all. It's like Salesforce, you bought the CRM, the marketing tool. Look, now we have a help desk tool, or we can build front applications, and we can add forums or whatever tools, or we have modules for you. So it looks like interesting because you say, okay, I have one vendor and I can have all my features, all my modules from that same vendor. So the pros, yeah, everything is in the same box. So it's like you don't have to make complex choices. The cons, in fact, if you look at it, the UX is not often that consistent because some of these modules that they propose comes from acquisitions they've made, and the product are not really tightly integrated and not consistent, really aligned and consistent. And you can feel that it's like having two vendors almost. It's not like because it's the same agreement, the same contract, the same invoice, that in fact you have the fully integrated tools. Still, some modules can be missing. Like from one vendor, you can add the CRM, the help desk, and I don't know, forums, but still missing a dog portal or a learning management system. So you're back to having to select multiple vendors and integrate those modules consistently then. Or you can have everything in the one box, but some of those modules may be weak because they are not exactly having all the features that you need because they are not a priority for the platform. And because that's not a priority, that may not change. I mean, like maybe imagine that Microsoft or Salesforce or Oracle has an LMS solution for you. Maybe that's something they acquired 8 years ago, made no real investment on it, and it's maybe quite outdated compared to what your expectations are. So that doesn't solve your problem either. Plus, most of the time, because those vendors try to do everything, they are just sort of a vendor lock-in, and they don't make it easy for you to connect to other platforms. They don't play the game of being open and letting you easily connect with other tools. So sort of a lack of flexibility. But again, depends on what you're looking for, the sophistication, the features, the list of features that you have, and how much you can invest in rebuilding, fine-tuning those modules if they don't exactly fit your needs. If you go on the, towards the best-of-breed approach, so you understand the idea. It's like every application is distinct. Can provide one or two modules only, maybe one only, one capability only, and then you go to another vendor to find another, to buy the other capability, like a dog portal, like the LMS, like the community tool. So it means that you have to configure those applications separately to create this consistency because it doesn't come out of the box. So you have to find a way to build this, and most of the time you need to add to that some underlying system, single sign-on, search, a design system, include a design system approach so that you create this unification for those tools. So that's the idea. So the cons, well, you have to select each vendor separately, runs different contracts. It means as well that if you want to select those vendors, those applications, you need to know what you want. Because if you go to the one platform that does everything, you take what is given you. You don't have to think, really. You just take what is part of the box, inside the box, you look at it and say, okay, what can we do? But if you buy applications separately, then that forces you in some way to think before and say, okay, what is it I want to do? What do I need? What are the features that I'd like to have? What is must have? What would be nice to have? So you have to make this work of being clear about your goals and the user experience you want to create for each application. And then based on that, you can select your vendor. And then you have to configure each application separately, but as well, make that in a way that creates a consistent user journey across those touch points, those different applications. It's like configuring single sign-on and so forth. So that's the drawback of this best-of-breed approach. The pros, well, that's obvious. Because you've selected each application separately, each one is supposed to be optimal and to fit your needs, normally. Or as well, you gain flexibility because if one application at some point in time doesn't fit your need, or something better exists, or I don't know, your market changes or your customer changes or whatever, you can just change that application without disturbing the other ones. It's like if you need to change your learning system, your LMS or your community tool one day, you can just select a new tool, redo the integration, do some migration, but during that time, the rest of the stack, like the CRM, the LBS, the dog portal, remain in place, and you are not disturbing the rest of the user experience. You also gain flexibility and agility because each team, each business team, can configure and maintain its own application. So you rely less on an IT team that would be in charge of controlling, managing a large platform. But you can have one team that's in charge of training material that they can choose the LMS and then implement that and run that in some way, especially if it's a SaaS application, and then make sure that they have full ownership of the application. And again, usually those applications, because they are just focusing on one aspect, one types of feature interaction with the user, they are more optimal, and they are supposedly designed to interconnect with other applications because they know those applications know they are only a part of the needs, and they are more open to connection if you choose them well. And then meaning that you have more opportunities to do more connections as well. So yeah, the benefits are there. It's more efficient for you, for your users. You've got more autonomy for your teams, which means speed of action to keep abreast with innovation. And you've got this agility of your architecture. Typically, when AI comes, something like AI comes, then you can implement AI where it's needed based on different vendors and adapt in an easier way. So now that we have this in mind, do it all platform best of breed. If you go best of breed, because we're more part of that world anyway, we just do the CDP, the product knowledge platform, and the doc portal. What does that mean? I will share a bit of you the experience that we have with our customers. What does it take to create a consistent user journey, a less fragmented customer experience? What are, it's not like technical, but it's like things to do. It may sound obvious, at least at the beginning, but you'll see that the more we go, the less easy, the less obvious it is. So 5 things to do. First, clearly, you need to put in place a unified authentication, which is single sign-on, so that when people authenticate, they can move from application to application, switch between apps, apps being for me here, the help desk tool, the doc portal, the LMS, the community forums, whatever tools that is your front application that your end customers, your users, your service technicians, you name it, are connected with and are supposed to use every day for operating your products. So all of these applications must be SSO compatible. This is a pre-requirement, and you need to put that in place. Probably I won't explain you, it's pretty obvious what single sign-on is. It has to be capable to connect to existing directories like Entra ID or ADFS, which is Microsoft Active Directory Federation Services. Has to be compatible with identity management providers such as Okta, Ping Identity, you name it. That can be as well, the SSO can be an open source solution like Keycloak or homegrown user database, but it has to be compatible with all of that. So to do, choose only applications that are SSO compliant so that people authenticate only once. Give you an example here. One of our customers is Siemens. You see, you go to sid.siemens.com, which is the doc portal for all the Siemens building technology. You click on sign in. In fact, you're directed to the signin.siemens.com, which is the single sign-on thing. You log in there, you're back to free topics. And now if you move to go to another portal of touch point, which is like support.industry.siemens.com. Same, if you click on login, you're directed to the single sign-on system of Siemens. And once you're authenticated in one application, you can go to the other one pretty seamlessly. You don't have to re-authenticate. Basic, but still, we see many applications that are not implemented that way, and that's something to do. And the key thing here, I think most enterprise applications are, 90% of them are SSO compatible. The key part being for you to set up this SSO backend system, this identity management platform, to which you can connect all your, in some way, connect all your touch points, your applications, front applications. That was one. Point number 2, consistent design. Looks obvious as well, but you see there's so many, and you've seen that one. You don't feel like when you move from the doc portal to the support portal, the look and feel doesn't look very consistent. No, so that's work. You still have to do it, and you have to make people feel that they are always on the same side in some way. So they have to look alike from a branding perspective, which is like colors, logo, fonts, but as well page structure, header, footers, all of that. So you have to choose application. That's the to-do point. You have to choose applications from vendors that are configurable enough, meaning that to a certain extent, depending on what you want to achieve from a UI perspective. You need to make that part of your requirements. You can ask for a POC, you can ask for a demo, you can ask to look at existing implementations to see how far customers have been to customize those front end and make them look like what they wanted it to be. It means as well that this design that you need to implement has to be formalized somewhere, which is called a design system. So a design system is a set of directive on how to implement the UI that you want. It looks like that, so that's the definition of Wikipedia that you see here. We have a design system, and you see for us, every graphical component, everything is documented, like the buttons, how the buttons should look, the icons should look. So everything is documented like that, so that when we implement buttons, colors, logos in our own applications, we make it consistent, and we make the application look and behave consistently from a UI perspective, design perspective. So you need to have your whatever marketing team, customer experience team, whoever is in charge of that in your company, create this design system, and then you need to implement this design system into each application that you develop. So I'll give you an example. Here you see Teradata. This is the screenshot of the corporate website. This is the docs.teradata.com, which is the Fluid Topics portal. And this is the community portal. So you can feel that when you're sort of moving from application to application, you'll not feel lost. You say, I'm still on Teradata. It's not the same application. It doesn't have to be the one application. It's a best of breed approach. But when you move through links or for whatever reasons from one application to another one, you don't feel like it's a different world. So that's very important to do. But again, that's more work than it seems, because again, you have to document and create those design systems. Another thing, the third point, another thing that you can do is work on the URL side. It's like you have two options here. It's like do app.mycompany.com or mycompany.com/app. It's like docs.teradata.com or teradata.com/app, or CRM or support.teradata.com, or does it have to be Teradata, mycompany/support? So you have to choose, but at least it doesn't have to be the name of the vendor. See what I mean? It's like, would be weird, and you would weaken the confidence of the user if the URL doesn't show your name, the name of your company. So in our case, we do docs.freetopics.com, helpcenter.freetopics.com, whatever components. We have tv.freetopics.com or stuff like that. And we have customers that do the other way, like jfrog/help/support/community. You choose your way to go. Usually the app.mycompany.com is easier to do. So the main base is easy to set up and standard, as long as it's supported by your vendor. If you go URL based, which is putting the name of the application after the domain name, mycompany.com/app, then you have to put in the middle a proxy for rewriting and rerouting to different applications. Requires a bit of work. That increases control, security in some way, but doesn't impact on performance because you put a proxy in the middle. But that's totally possible. So two ways of doing, but again, you have to get URLs that have your name into it and let people know where they are when they navigate. So because if you add URL, you understand that if you have URL that are designed like this and a consistent design, like www.teradata.com, docs.teradata.com, support.teradata.com, and SSO, you can navigate between the different applications in a very seamless manner. Which leads to cross-navigation. How do you implement, configure those front applications so that users feel they are navigating something that is fully integrated, not just separate applications that are consistent in terms of look and feel, URL, and single sign-on, but how do you create a navigation a path, a journey from one app to the other, another app, one application to the other one, that makes it more interesting from a less fragmented experience. So there are different things you can do. First, you can work on headers and footers. We'll see that. Links and blocks. So first, header, footer, pretty obvious. You see here, it's a common header. It's like one of our customers, Darwin Box. And you see that on top, when you are on the doc portal, it's like docs.darwinbox.com, something like that. And the header shows links to the other touch points, like community, support, academy. But when you are on the support or academy side, then you are on academy.darwinbox.com, and the header looks the same, and then you have community, support, documentation, and so forth. So you understand the principle that it's always the same header, looks the same, and it shows the different places where you can navigate and the different applications that are available to you. So that's header, footer. You can put those links and let people know where they are and where they can go in one click directly. You can create links as well between applications. It's more in depth than just the header, footer thing. Typically, give you an example here where you have your documentation, and imagine you have hardware products that have parts, and when you render the content, you show the documentation. You can here, that's an example where you dynamically inject into those tables that list the parts links to the e-store, so that people can order parts from the dock. So from a user experience, that's interesting, because it's not like, oh, this is my product, this is how to fix it, this is the list of parts that I need, but then I have to open a new tab, go to the parts catalog, then search again for the parts, like copy paste a part number, plus maybe the part number is not obvious here. Am I sure that I'm choosing the right part for that device that I own? If you can put directly links into the doc, then that's easy for customers, because they are reading the doc, say, oh, this is how I fixed this problem. I need to change whatever part. I see the table here. I click on the cart. Then that puts it directly into the cart in the eShop system. So that's another way. That's how you can integrate the different applications and create a seamless journey by having these interconnections deep into the content. Not that what I show you here is not necessarily something that you would have if you would have a do-it-all platform, because you can still have one platform that is supposedly doing everything, but is rendering content, but not linking with the parts catalog or other applications from the platform. So regardless, you have one platform only, one provider, or a best-of-breed approach, doing this sort of integration in a sort of deep into the content, the data, is something that is not out of the box and that you have to think about to create a seamless journey. So you have to choose, that's part of the to-do. If you want to do things like that, you have to make sure that you choose applications that can be extended to create those, to hook these sort of interactions that help navigate between applications and do some actions between applications. Another way to create cross-navigation is with blocks. Typically, here I give you a sort of a mock-up. Imagine you're in the CRM, and the user can connect and see the list of all the product he owns and the past invoices and something like that. It's like ERP, CRM sort of interface for the user, for your customer. But you can imagine that when they select a product, you could pull and put in the UI of your CRM interface the document that relate to that product they own, or the parts that are most commonly ordered by people for that product. So it's like pulling from other applications that are part of this journey, information that help people navigate and say, oh, this is how I find the documents that I need for this product that I have acquired, or this is the list of all the parts that exist, or the one that I've already ordered and I can reorder them, something like that. So you can bring that in into each tool sort of interconnect with data information that comes from other tools in a contextual manner. So from the CDP, from pre-topics, from a PIM or e-store product, you could bring that in. So yeah, again, that's something that needs to be considered if you want to create this seamless journey and less fragmented experience, is making sure that the tools that you have let you extend them so that you can add those links or building blocks so that there are APIs on the one side for pulling information and UI extension widget capabilities on the display side to make these interactions and this integration. Same, that's an example here, like you see that you could put in product help or chatbot. That's how, for example, Free Topics makes this cross application possible by letting any application pull data, pull information through API and render that in other applications. I'd like to now to move on to the last and probably the most interesting part of those 5 to-dos when it comes to creating a more seamless and consistent user journey and less fragmented customer experience. And that's interesting because that's something I put on paper, well, in slides, and some time ago. And since a month or two, we have tons of discussion with our customers on that exact subject. I had one 2 hours ago with one of our customers. That was exactly the questions they had, and they were trying to solve. So I think that's a very hot topic. Maybe with the advent of AI and chatbot, that is bringing back this question of how to make search and find the right information across all those silos applications in a more efficient way. So let's discuss that. Search. So it's very, very key to the user experience. It's critical. And I think it's not a technical, probably the biggest mistake that we see is that people think it's a technical problem. It's not. It's first and foremost a design experience thing. So, and you have to design personalized use cases and understand how people search and navigate your content. What are your users? What are they searching? What are their goals to achieve? Why do they come to your help desk, dog portal, LMS, forums? What are they trying to achieve? And you have to make sure that whatever you design in terms of search experience is really resonating with that and not look at it from a tech perspective. Because in fact, when you really look at it in terms of personalized, if you want to make it simple, you have 2 types of users. The one that know your product, the one that are your customers, they are not in discovery mode. They are mostly trying to fix a problem, find a solution to something. They are looking for some very precise information. Usually they know the features, they just don't know how to use it, or they are configuring or running it or trying to troubleshoot your product, and they are not in discovery mode. So they are the real users. And then you have another type, the other persona, which are the newcomers, the guy that recently joined one of your customers, they don't know the product well, they don't know all the features, they are more like in discovery mode. And they don't know where to go, they don't know how to search, they don't know what keywords to use to find, because if you don't know what you don't know. So if you don't know the name of the feature, you haven't read the doc yet, you don't know the right keywords to use for getting to the information. So we have these 2 types of users, and everything we design from a search experience has to take that into account. So now the question is, having in mind those 2 types, 2 personas, do we need a search engine that provides a unified list of results from all applications, and what works for those guys, those two users, okay? So the key question that we have from our customer, and I think it's back as an essential critical question because of chatbot, we'll see that in a minute, is do we need something that is a unified search thing? Let's look at it from simple perspective, more classic one, which is keyword search. We'll see chatbot afterwards. Do we need a unified keyword search engine that runs a search across all those applications that are and more that you see on top, like parts catalog, help desk, wikis, doc portals, so your documentation, the learning management, the forums, everything. So you run a search, you type the keywords. Do you want something that brings everything into one search result page or not? My first answer is no, we don't need that. Because if you bring everything into one page, one search result list, that's a lot of results from very disparate sources. It's very confusing. It's highly difficult to tune the relevance. And it makes it even more complex for people, especially if you look at the experienced user. If it's a field technician or a support agent or a very techie guy from your customer looking on how to use that feature or to fix a problem, they don't care about getting marketing material, customer testimonials, or learning material because they know the product. So making that part of the search result list is useless for them. They are more trying, if they get to the doc portal, that's probably because they are looking for something very precise in terms of information. Otherwise, they would have gone to your, if it's a new user, they may have gone to your corporate website or LMS website to find for tutorials and things. But here, they are looking for precise answer and information. So bringing everything into one page may be more counterproductive. So another way of doing it for me, which is better, is trying to frame the search result to something that is consistent from a persona perspective. Like if you're on the Knowledge Hub, on the doc portal, the search should be focused on content that is from the doc portal, and because it's with topics, maybe you have ingested the references to the learning material and or some articles from the knowledge base. But it's not where, because people came to the doc website, they are probably not interested in marketing material or community forums. But you can pull that on the UI, on the side, say, by the way, in the forums, there are discussions about this subject, or in the parts catalog, you've been looking for that, we have parts for your product or whatever. So instead of overloading the search result page, you can make it focus on one type of information that fits the needs and the purpose and the intent of the user, and put on the side additional information that shows the availability of more information that is ancillary to the problem. And then you can make them switch from one type of content to another type of content. And then from the same place, they could, you see here, drop down and say, oh, let me search in the marketing material in the community forums. And then from the one place, you can let them transition to the community forums by running a search specifically, but switching here the search. So that's a way of doing it. And I think like unifying, simply indexing everything, dumping all the content, putting that on one search only, even though you have filters afterwards, is not the best way to do it. But to the question, do we need a unified search engine? We see a lot of customers that say, yes, we need that. We need that because we want to build a chatbot. And we want to build the perfect chatbot that can answer any question. Whatever we ask, we need the chatbot to reply. And we need the chatbot then to find that in every application that makes sense that is available in our company. So if we need to build that, we need a chatbot, the perfect chatbot that knows everything. It's like the gut chatbot, knows everything. We need to unify the content. So we need to index everything in one place, which led 2-3 years ago, the first companies trying to build that to say we need to dump everything into a data lake. because our chatbot needs to be plugged onto a unified repository. And by unify, I don't mean just something like free topics, but everything that exists, from the forums to the parts catalog to the ERP to the CRM data, whatever exists should be there. So we should dump it, and then we'll come to build something with that. We'll come to build the semantic search by doing the embeddings, and then we need to do all of that. The problem is that after 2 years, I can tell you from our customers, it's not working. It's not working because everything that exists in those source applications that are quite sophisticated, like the access rules model, the security, the metadata that are specific to one type of content, the semantics, the deep semantics of this data is lost in the data lake. If you dump that, if you just index it and put a search on top, this is all lost, or you have to rebuild it, which takes years. So data lakes have proven to be, that's why some people call them data swamps now, have proven to be a wrong approach, because the rationale behind is we need to get access to all the content, but having access to all the content to solve complex problems does not mean that you have to dump everything in one place, become out of sync with the data sources, because some of them, the content is changing every minute, like product availability or prices or whatever. So content unification for the sake of building chatbots has proven to be the wrong approach. And this is why MCP has been invented. MCP has not been invented as just for the fun or because that was something fancy. That was really for solving the problem of building AI agents that could tap into any knowledge, any information, any data that exists in the company that they need to have access to for solving problem complex, without going through this data lake dump thing. So it's more like, instead of unification, it's federation. So the idea of MCP is that the data should stay in their system of records, source applications, as much as possible, and be available through this MCP protocol to AI agents in real time. And each application is in charge of providing an MCP access, being MCP enabled to the data. So you see today, you search on the web, whatever application almost you run in your company, all of them now have an MCP server available, which makes them as application, as data, available to agentic systems, including agentic chatbot. Maybe one point that is not fully ready yet is this unstructured content, more like the content side, which is text-based, which is everything you have, your tech doc, your wikis, so those are probably not MCP enabled, not unified, and that's part of the game, and that's what we bring with Free Topics. Say, we're going to take care of this text data, product knowledge. We are going to unify it and make it available through MCP to the rest of to any agent that you built in your company. And then those AI agents now are able to solve complex problems by putting live into the content that exists in those applications, system of records, or product knowledge platforms like Free Topics. So unification is important, but it does not mean that you have to create a unified index on a data lake for that. Which still leads to, once you have that in place and you have this federation of data available through MCP in your company, which is pretty easy to do, what is the UX you want to build? We are back to what is the user experience we want to create, because if you have that, you can still create a chatbot, an agentic chatbot that when you ask a question, reply to that question like this, one answer. But you remember this, let me get back there, the search result page I've shown you, where we don't put all the content in the same search result list, but we try to organize that by you on the doc portal, considering your question, this is what you need. And by the way, we have threads of discussions, parts catalogs, or learning material, however you organize it. That's something you should probably consider as well when you build an agentic chatbot. When people ask a question, should the answer be based on everything merged here, or should you create an answer that focuses on subtypes of content and says, by the way, we have that as well. So you see, even this question of how to organize and how to bring in front of the user all the data that you have, all the knowledge that you have, can be organized regardless the unification you've done, regardless the subsystems that you have. You still have to think about the UX you want to design, whether or not you want to, how to make people discover, navigate the types of content, and go from applications to applications. So that's interesting to think about, because I think that for the moment, most of us, including us and all the companies that I've seen, they think about chatbot in a ChatGPT-like manner, which is like one question, one answer, but it's very B2C oriented. And we are in B2B, it's more refined and a bit different. And maybe we could build chatbots, agentic systems that structure more the data, including when you ask one question. Food for thought. And then the last point, I'm good. 2 slides, I think. Do we still need keyword search now that we have chatbots? And particularly if you do a chatbot like that, that is able to tap into multiple silos, applications, pull data, organize that, make that understandable, navigable. Do we still need keyword search? I would say yes. Typically, I run some. I did a little experiment, and we have a feature in Free Topics called Profile Mapper. So I started typing configure prof, and I had my suggestion. Then click on this, so the result, click on the first result, get to the doc that I wanted to have. It took me 14 keystrokes, 2 clicks, 8 seconds. I am an experienced user. I know the feature. I know it exists. I know its name. I just want to get to how to configure it. 8 seconds. I did the same. We have a chatbot. I asked the same question to the chatbot. How do I configure the profile mapper, which was my intent? Then I got an answer from the chatbot. There's a link as well, because whatever is provided me here is not everything, is not all the doc. Then I click, then I'm on the doc. I arrive at the same place, but it took me 38 keystrokes, 1 click, 18 seconds. So more than twice the time. So you see that believing that all the users are only willing to have chatbot, I think is wrong. I think getting rid of, not considering the other ways of searching, the needs of the user, what they want to achieve, and considering the different state of maturity of your users would be a mistake. And thinking that you can replace everything with just one chatbot is probably a big mistake, that throwing everything and then you'll have to rebuild it rapidly. So that was what I wanted to share with you today. My takeaways, unifying the user experience, that does not mean one tool only, does not mean dumping everything and building data lakes. That's more refined. It means that you have to choose do it all, the one platform that does everything versus best of breed. That's a choice to make. You have to find the balance, maybe not one tool, but you can have some tools doing 1 or 2 things. And again, I think that best of breed is winning, because as we've seen over those past 2 years, everything is changing so fast in terms of technology, and everything, that you need to consider the agility and choosing different platforms that you can assemble rapidly because they are mature enough is probably the fastest way to innovate and serve your customers in the best way. This is what I wanted to share today. And now, any question now? I'll be glad to answer. Do we have questions No questions so far. I'm alone. Everybody left. I didn't notice. I'm speaking. I'm speaking alone somewhere. No, any question there? Do you have something to share in terms of UX or the user experience or the chatbot thing or the unification? Any comment?
I'll take this moment to remind everyone that we are recording, and we will be sending the recording link to all those who registered, as well as post this and all our past webinars on the CIDM website. So
It looks like I mean, we have options. We always have options. Either people fell asleep or went for a coffee. I have no question. Or I was clear.
You're clear.
I was clear, crystal clear. Everything's fine.
Yep, you got a thumbs up.
And we have a question here. That's from a customer. So disclaimer, we love free topics. Thank you. What can you tell us about FT search versus Coveo search? That's an interesting question, Larry. Again, there are different aspects to that question. You can look at it from a technical perspective. We could speak for 2 hours about the difference in our search technology versus Coveo search, what we do, why it's better, why our search technology is far superior to Coveo. But I think it's pointless. First, because it's obvious we have a better technology, but mostly because what we see is typically that Coveo search is like when companies were trying to solve that problem of creating a unified search bar that avoid having people to run multiple search in multiple touch points. It's more like, how do you let people search most inside your company, or even if it's your end customers, run one search and make sure they can spot everything that exists around that subject. Okay. Now you have to organize that. How do you render that is another thing. But again, when we see that, Coveo is just a search, an enterprise search engine, and usually that's a project that's run by the IT department, maybe because of the demand of, I don't know, the customer experience team or whoever, because they said, we have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 touch points for our customers, and us internally, we have 3 more. And when people look for information, they have to run 4, 5, 6, 9 times the same query in every different tool. So how can we make it simpler so that people can run the search only once and see everything that's available in the company? This is what Coveo or typical enterprise search engines are about. Again, I think that's a bit, I wouldn't say outdated, but again, that's an approach that doesn't resonate with where we're heading to with MCP and federation. That was the time where there was no other way than building a unified index to make people find the information they need. And it's very keywords oriented. And now they're trying to survive by saying, yeah, but now we can provide you semantic search on top of everything. But then you end up being in the data lake, in this data lake thing. The data lake can be Coveo for the search, not all the data, not the rendering, but it's part of that. It's part of that approach of unifying, dumping, unifying. That's what Coveo does. It's crawling everything, building a unified index so that you run one search and you have an idea of everything that exists in your company. Again, I think that's because that's the only way we could make it work in the past. But we have a solution to that, which is MCP now. And not only does MCP allow you to make that federation of query in a much better way. So I think that the time of content unification is over, and that the present and the future even more are back to federation. because now we have every application becomes MCP enabled, is able to participate to that federation thing. So like, and your AI agent can be a simple search bar. It doesn't have to be a complex agent that does crazy stuff. What you can have here as the AI agent can be just a search bar running search queries through MCP to your different systems or subsystems like Free Topic that is in charge of organizing the product knowledge. And then you have your CRM, your ARP, your PIM. So you don't need Coveo anymore. You don't need, I mean, I have nothing against Coveo. I mean, it's about this idea that whatever we needed to do at some point in time to let people search in one search bar, understand everything that's available, you get that out of the box with MCP. That's the new thing. So you don't have to build those data lakes, those unified enterprise index anymore. Because every index, when you index, the data that is indexed, that you dump into the data lake that is indexed by Coveo, after 1 hour, is probably outdated. It's out of sync. It's unsynced, as opposed to having this live federation of knowledge in, plus the ability to build those more sophisticated AI agents that can automate processes and so forth. So yeah, so what do I think? It's not about the technology. It's about the approach of, do we still need those enterprise search technology unifying everything? I think no, because now we have MCP. And that's the new thing. I hope I replied to your question. Any other question? Nope. Don't be shy. Or we'll see each other at Convex in what, 2 weeks?
Yes.
Oh God, it's almost, you're right, 2 weeks. Oh, no, less than 2 weeks, because 2
it's
weeks.
Less than
next
2 weeks.
Day, that will be the last day of Convex. So yeah.
I know. I mean, we've got Easter this weekend, and then it's just going
and
to be.
And then we're there. Yeah, it's like Easter.
I know.
And take the plane.
Boom, boom. So super excited. Have not been to Pittsburgh before, so
either.
That's always exciting to visit a new place. But
it's
going to be a great conference.
So we don't have any other question. We're past the hour, so maybe we can stop here. Thank you all for having attended this presentation. Don't hesitate to reach out. We'll be glad to continue the conversation with you, or if you have questions about Free Topics, what we can do for you, or how to make MCP work in your company. We're there. Okay? Thank you very much. Thank you, Trish. And see you in Pittsburgh in whatever, 10 days.
Yep.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Have a good day. Have a good evening.